These are not just scary stories. These are real incidents from California, where people experienced something that shouldn't exist. And the creepiest part is, some of them were never alone. What I saw that night in California still haunts me, and it could haunt you too. 3 people, 3 nights, 3 real horrors in California, and none of them, one story, Cecil Hotel, were ever the same again. I didn't plan to stay at the Cecil Hotel. It was one of those last-minute decisions after missing my bus out of Los Angeles. The price was cheap, the photos looked decent enough, and I told myself all the stories I'd heard about the place were probably exaggerated. By the time I checked in, it was already dark, and I just wanted a bed. The lobby felt off. Not scary, just strange. The lights were dimmer than they should have been, and there was this quiet tension in the air, like everyone there was keeping something to themselves. The guy at the front desk barely looked at me when he handed over the key. No smile, no small talk, just room 512, and a quick glance behind me, like he didn't want to make eye contact for too long. The elevator was old. It made a soft grinding noise as it moved, stopping longer than usual on certain floors even when no one was there. I remember checking my phone, but there was no signal. I laughed it off at first. Old building, bad reception, nothing unusual. When I reached the 5th floor, the hallway was almost completely silent, the kind of silence where you can hear your own breathing. The carpet looked worn out, and the lights flickered slightly as I walked to my room. I tried not to think too much about it. Inside, the room was basic. A bed, a small table, a mirror, and a window facing another building. I dropped my bag, locked the door, and sat on the bed. That's when I noticed how quiet it really was. No traffic noise, no voices, nothing. At around 2 a.m., I woke up suddenly. I don't know why. It felt like someone had called my name, but when I sat up, the room was empty. I checked my phone again, still no signal. That's when I heard it. A faint knocking sound. At first, I thought it was coming from the hallway, but as I listened carefully, I realized it was coming from inside the room. Not the door, not the walls. It was coming from somewhere above me. I froze. The knocking wasn't loud, but it was steady. 3 knocks, pause, then 3 again. It didn't sound random, it felt deliberate. I stood up slowly and looked around. There was nothing unusual. The ceiling looked normal. I even convinced myself it might be pipes or something in the building. Old hotels make weird noises, right? But then it stopped. And right after that, I heard footsteps in the hallway. Slow, dragging steps. They moved past my door, then stopped. I could feel my heart pounding. I didn't move. I just sat there, staring at the door, waiting for something to happen. Then came a soft sound, like someone lightly touching the door from the outside. Not knocking, just touching. I don't know how to explain it, but it felt wrong, like whoever or whatever was out there knew I was inside. I stayed completely still. Minutes passed, maybe longer. Eventually, the footsteps continued down the hallway and disappeared. I didn't sleep after that. In the morning, I checked out early. I didn't even brush my teeth properly. I just wanted to leave. As I handed back the key, I casually mentioned the noise to the guy at the desk. I tried to sound normal, like it wasn't a big deal. He looked at me for a second, then said, "5th floor?" I nodded. He didn't say anything else, just took the key and looked away. Later that day, out of curiosity, I searched the hotel online. That's when I came across the story of a girl who had stayed there. Her last known footage was inside an elevator, acting strangely, like she was hiding from something no one else could see. I watched the video. The way she moved, the way she pressed the buttons, it reminded me of the elevator ride I had the night before. I closed my phone immediately. I don't know what really happened in that hotel. Maybe it was just my imagination. Maybe the building is just old and full of strange sounds. But one thing still bothers me. That knocking. It didn't sound like pipes. It sounded like someone trying to get my attention. Two-story Yosemite Forest. I went to Yosemite National Park in late October, just before the heavy snow season. The plan was simple: spend one night alone, record some nature footage, and head back the next day. I had done solo trips before, so I wasn't nervous. If anything, I was excited. The park was quieter than I expected. There were a few cars near the entrance, but the deeper I drove in, the emptier it became. By the time I reached my trail spot, it felt like I had the entire forest to myself. No voices, no movement, just wind and trees. I set up my tent just before sunset. The air was cold, but not unbearable. As the sky got darker, the forest changed. The same place that looked peaceful in daylight now felt heavier. I kept telling myself it was normal. It's just what forests feel like at night. Around 9 p.m., I started hearing sounds. At first, it was just leaves crunching somewhere far off. I assumed it was an animal, maybe a deer or something small. I didn't pay much attention. But then I heard it again. This time, it sounded closer. I stopped moving and listened carefully. The sound stopped too. That's when I realized something strange. Whatever it wasn't moving randomly. It was stopping when I stopped. I tried to ignore it and got inside my tent. I told myself I was overthinking, but deep down, something didn't feel right. Around midnight, I woke up suddenly. I don't know what woke me, but my eyes just opened, like my body sensed something before my mind did. For a few seconds, everything was quiet. Then I heard it. Someone whispering. At first, I thought it was the wind, but then I heard it again, clearer this time. It sounded like my name. I froze. My heart started racing instantly. There was no way someone I knew was out here. I hadn't told anyone exactly where I was camping. I slowly reached for my phone and turned on the flashlight. The inside of the tent was empty, of course, but the whisper didn't come from inside. It came from outside. I held my breath and listened. "Come here." The voice was soft, almost calm, not aggressive, not loud. That somehow made it worse. I didn't move. Every instinct told me not to respond, not to unzip the tent, not to even make a sound. Minutes passed, but it felt much longer. Then I heard footsteps circling around the tent, slow, careful steps, like someone was trying not to be heard, but not trying hard enough. I grabbed a small knife from my bag, even though I knew it wouldn't really help much. My hands were shaking. Then the footsteps stopped, right behind my head. I could feel it. I don't know how, but I knew something was standing just inches away from the fabric of the tent. And then, silence. No breathing, no movement, nothing. I stayed like that for what felt like hours. At some point, I must have passed out or fallen into a half sleep. When I woke up again, it was morning. Sunlight was coming through the tent and everything looked normal. For a moment, I thought maybe it was just a nightmare, until I stepped outside. There were footprints, not animal tracks, human footprints. They circled my tent completely, over and over again. But what really scared me was this: there were no footprints leading away. I packed my things as fast as I could and left without even eating. The whole drive back, I kept replaying the voice in my head. It didn't sound unfamiliar. That's what bothered me the most. It sounded like someone I knew. I never went back to that part of Yosemite again. And even now, sometimes late at night, when everything is quiet, I feel like if I listen closely enough, I might hear that voice again. Story 3. Highway Hitchhiker. I was driving alone on Pacific Coast Highway heading north late at night. It wasn't part of the plan. I'd stayed longer than expected in a small town, and by the time I left, The roads were already empty. No streetlights, no traffic, just the ocean somewhere to my left and darkness everywhere else. I like night drives, but this felt different. The kind of quiet that makes you check your mirrors more often than usual. Still, I kept going. I just wanted to reach the next city and get a motel. After about an hour, I noticed something ahead. A figure standing near the edge of the road. At first, I thought it was a sign or maybe a tree branch, but as I got closer, I realized it was a person, a woman. She was wearing something light-colored, standing completely still, facing the road. I slowed down. It didn't feel right to just pass someone alone at night like that, so I stopped a few feet ahead and rolled down the window. "Hey, are you okay?" I asked. She didn't answer immediately. Then slowly, she walked toward the car. Her movements were off. Not exactly unnatural, but delayed, like she was thinking about each step. When she reached the window, she leaned slightly down and said, "Can you give me a ride?" Her voice was quiet, calm, almost too calm. I hesitated for a second, but I nodded. She opened the back door and got in without saying anything else. As I started driving again, I tried to make conversation. "Where are you headed?" No response. I checked the rearview mirror. She was just sitting there, looking straight ahead. Her face was pale, and her eyes didn't move. It felt like I wasn't even there. I told myself she was probably just scared or in shock. Maybe something had happened. A few minutes passed in silence. Then she spoke. "Not this road." I frowned slightly. "What do you mean?" "Turn ahead," she said softly. There was no turn ahead, just a narrow, almost invisible dirt road that I hadn't even noticed before. It didn't look like something people used. "I don't think," I started. "Turn," she repeated. Something about her tone made me do it. I don't know why. Maybe I just wanted to get her where she needed to go and be done with it. The car moved onto the dirt road, and instantly, everything felt different. The air, the silence, even the way the headlights cut through the darkness, it all felt heavier. After a few seconds, I looked in the mirror again. The back seat was empty. I slammed the brakes. My heart started pounding so hard I could hear it. I turned around fully. No one was there. The door hadn't opened. I didn't hear anything. She was just gone. I stepped out of the car, my legs shaking. The road behind me was empty. No footsteps, no movement, just trees and darkness. I checked the back seat again, even though I knew what I'd find. Nothing. That's when I noticed something on the seat, a small old photograph. I picked it up. It showed a woman standing near a road, wearing the same light-colored clothes. The picture looked aged, like it had been taken years ago. At the bottom, there was a faded date. I couldn't read it clearly, but it was definitely not recent. I got back in the car and drove out of there as fast as I could. I didn't stop until I reached a gas station miles away. The next morning, I couldn't stop thinking about it, so I asked the guy at the station if he knew anything about that road. He looked at me for a second, then asked, "Did you pick someone up?" I didn't answer. He sighed and said, "People say there used to be an accident there. A woman died on that road years ago. Some drivers still see her late at night." I never told anyone about the photograph. I still have it, and sometimes, when I'm driving alone at night, I check the back seat more than I should.